So to refer to a particular value in the dictionary, because they're unordered, we have to give the key. The value, the name of the thing we're looking up. So if and we do that using square bracket notation. So we give the name of the dictionary and then immediately open some square brackets, and then in inverted commas we put the name, because it's a string, we give the name of the lookup key, which in this case is name in this example. And so if I do that on my dictionary, it'll return Bob Smith. Remember, that's my dictionary here. So the corresponding value for the lookup key name is Bob Smith. I can also use that square bracket notation in order to overwrite values. So if I just put that without any assignment, it'll return whatever value it looks up. But I can use that to overwrite things as well. So if I were to then put my patient dictionary name equals Dan Chalk, that will overwrite the value associated with the key name with the string Dan Chalk. We can also create in exactly the same way, and this is one of the reasons I like dictionaries, because the way in which you add things is very consistent with everything else. We add a new key value pair for if one doesn't exist in exactly the same way. So if we've got patient ID, name, year of birth, and readmission as our 4 keys. Let's say we wanted to add a 5th key called month of birth. Well, to do that, we just give the name of the dictionary, and then in square brackets we put down the name of the key, and if that key doesn't exist, it'll create it. And again, we provide the value that goes alongside that key. Now that won't work if you don't put an assignment there. If you give the key that doesn't exist and you ask it to return it, it's got nothing to return, obviously, because it doesn't exist. But if you do that as an assignment operation, then it'll create a new dictionary entry with that as the key and that as the lookup value. We can also delete entries that we don't need as well. To do that, we use the del command. So we say del. Now, it's actually a keyword within Python, which means you can't. So there are certain reserved words within Python, with any programming language, that you can't call things like variables because they're used for other words. So you couldn't, for example, call a function print because there's already a function called print. If you do, you will overwrite the print function. Though it's only temporary, but I've watched people do it. You can overwrite inbuilt functions by defining your own one, so be careful with that. And the same for variable names. If you, it will warn you that it's an inbuilt keyword. So you can't call a variable del, for example. It's certainly not as it's indicated there. So if we want to delete an entry, we use the del keyword space and then the name of the dictionary, and then we can provide in the square brackets the particular key that we want to delete. Now, you may have sussed already that the reason we're using square brackets here is because actually we're passing in a list. That's what we're doing. Now, in most cases, it's a list of length 1, but you can delete multiple entries at a time by just simply specifying multiple entries. So that's a thing you can do as well. That will delete readmission. So if I were to go through all those steps, we'd end up with this new dictionary that has the same patient ID, but it's got my name, it's got the same year of birth, and it's got a month of birth now, which it didn't have before, but it hasn't any longer got the readmission thing.